Hello everyone, and welcome to Let's Play Mystical Ninja, starring Goemon, one of my favorite games on the N64. I don't really know where to begin with this game, because this is something that I've played pretty much on an annual basis. Around Christmas time, my brother and I will sit down and we will play this game, and it's just a really fun game, despite how dry the humor is. The fourth wall jokes really aren't that funny at all, and overall, I just really like this game, and I don't know if it's the dry humor, like I said, if it's how the game plays. I still don't really know after all these years of playing. Let this cutscene play out a little bit. Get you established into the story of Mystical Ninja. So I think that cutscene perfectly, it just sets up just how ridiculous this game is. The dialogue, it's not the best thing ever. I mean, after all, this game really doesn't seem to have the best translation in the world. But when I was a lot younger, I glanced over that because I really didn't know any better. So, the whole plot of this game that we know so far is that people in a giant spaceship in feudal Japan shot a castle and made it look pretty. That's about all we know so far. Now, having played this game, naturally, if you were to play this game, you would think to head straight for the castle, but we have to go to Mount Fuji to acquire a pipe to actually make it to the castle. which the pipe that we are going to acquire is actually an awesome weapon. It's very reminiscent of, say, the hook shot in The Legend of Zelda, except you get it from the beginning, and it's just an awesome weapon. Now, how this game works is that you have Goemon here, which is something that I want to point out before I start going through these characters, before I start going through all of these locations in Japan. My Japanese is horrible. I am not going to pronounce all of these names correctly. I know that for a fact. So, if any of you are to leave a comment about how bad my Japanese is, I'm just letting you know right here, it's not good at all. I am so inept when it comes to the Japanese language. There's still even a lot of things about the culture that I'm not really good at, which are pointed out in this game. Let's see, so how this game works is that you're able to switch through characters at any given time. For example, right now I'm playing as Goemon, but if I hit down on the C buttons, I turn into Ibisumaru, which I think that's how you pronounce his name, even though that's questionable whether or not that's a him. When I was younger, I always thought it was a girl. I'm not really sure why anyone would think that's a male, but it's a male. And after reading up on this game, that character is supposed to be a fourth wall breaking character because that's supposed to represent the producer of the game and the kind of jokes that the producer would make about the game. I don't know, it's very confusing. It's Konami, and it's not Metal Gear Solid. So, a game from Konami that is not Metal Gear or Castlevania? I'm pretty sure Konami did Castlevania. Yeah. Oh, yeah, wow, I made that one, but a nice little hit. So it's just kind of an adventure game that's, a lot of people, the few reviews that I have found on this game, consider this to be a very mediocre title, which I have to disagree with. This game has so many awesome elements to it, whether it's the actual adventure itself. The combat system is a little bit dated. It just revolves around you switching through weapons and hitting the B button in order to attack. However, it's the different characters, the variety of attacks that you get, that really help this game shine a little bit. Probably my favorite part about the game is a combination of the visual style and the soundtrack. The soundtrack is a blend between sort of traditional Japanese instruments with even some jazz elements at some points to electronic music. It's very unique. That's one thing that I can say about the soundtrack, is that when you hear this soundtrack, if you were to listen to it at one point in time and then somewhere down the line you hear that song like on a YouTube video or something like that, you'll immediately be able to recognize the soundtrack, because that's how notable it is, and how sometimes absurd that it is. So right up here, nice little shop at the summit of Mount Fuji, and the character who I don't even want to try to pronounce his name because I'm probably going to fuck it up. To me, I always thought it was Mokubi. So, there we go. Phantasm Mask screws up Japanese. And he's honored. Honored to hand you his pipe. He is honored. Alright. So, normally you'd think, well, we'll have to climb all the way down Mount Fuji again, when it's just as simple as jumping off. Because there is no falling damage in this game, which is awesome. However, you will find pitfalls and stuff like that that lead into an abyss, which I think takes away a half a heart or something like that when you fall down. So, a really big plus for this game is no falling damage. And the game does have a currency system which allows you to buy armor. It allows you to buy, later on in the game, it'll actually allow you to buy extra lives. That's something about this game that I find kind of strange, even for this point in time in gaming, that you have a life bar, but then you also have extra lives. It's always kind of a strange thing for me, but you can, later on you can buy extra lives, you can buy body armor that allows you to withstand shots from projectiles, you can get armor that withstands physical attacks. You can even buy items like rice cakes, which allow you to replenish your health when it gets too low. Alright, so we've acquired a map, and it's good that you visit these coffee shops, because later on there is a fast travel system that you will acquire, and these coffee shops are used as a fast travel point. So anytime in the game that you encounter one of these shops, it's probably for the best that you go ahead and step inside of them, just for the sake of fast traveling later. You probably noticed that one of the enemies that I killed dropped, well, just that one right there dropped a colored piece of food. Those are dumplings, and you eat those to replenish your health. The pieces of gold are for the in-game currency system, but I don't really like to buy the armor. I'm not really too big on that because I don't really need it. I feel this game is not that difficult to the point where you have to buy armor to protect against projectiles. Now, why I'm stopping right here is because I want to show you something. This is probably one of the funniest things that you will ever see in this game. That guy right there, that guy, he is scary as shit. He is a pickpocket. He tries to steal your money, and he will charge you. He is a shady-looking motherfucker, and I hit him, and he's going the other way. Japan's stand your ground law in action, ladies and gentlemen. Guy's an asshole. I don't know why he's there. He's the only person in this game that does that. Only person. And that's what makes this game awesome. Because you get random things like, oh, look, here's a guy who's charging up to you. He looks like he's jumping on a pogo stick, and he's going to rob you. You don't know that. You don't know what he's doing. Until it's too late. And then he takes all your money. And you're broke. So that's just one of the many funny things about this game. Let's see, what... And we're heading right up to our first quote-unquote dungeon. In this game, they're castles. So, I can't wait to show you just how absurd some of these dungeons, castles can be. I'm used to calling them dungeons, mostly because of The Legend of Zelda. And outside of every one of them, you get a save point, which saves your data to your memory card in the back of your N64 controller, saves a file in your adventure diary. Welcome to Transformed... I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm guessing Edo Castle. Or Oedo. I don't fucking know. I'm not good at Japan, okay? Also, the music in this particular castle is awesome. You will probably be hearing me say that about a lot of places in this game. I'll try to point out any music that I think is really, really cool in this game. So, inside of the castles, the goal is to find keys to progress upward, or sometimes, I think even downward. There's one dungeon that requires you to go down instead of up. And then you'll find rooms like this where you just have to kill every single enemy to acquire the key. Really, really easy. This first castle is super easy. Just requires you to basically follow the path. It's not a very good representation of some of the later castles in the game. I believe there's one called Festival Temple Castle, which is just ridiculous. The first time I played that, it took me 3 days to get through it because I had no idea where to go, what to do, where things were, but hopefully with entertaining you with this Let's Play, it'll be a lot easier of an experience, and you won't have to go through the trials and tribulations that I had to with Mystical Ninja the first time I played it all those years ago. I probably played this game when I was around 8 or 9 years old. My grandmother picked it up in a clearance bin, no less, I think at a Sears. So, I know by today's standards that would make it sound like, oh, this game's horrible, but I don't know what it is. I really, really like this game. I guess it's because it's so gimmicky. Alright. I think we turn here to the right. And that's the best part. It's like the ultimate hook shot weapon. Instead of the Master Sword, you just have the hook shot. And it reaches out, and it destroys anything in its path. Until later in the game where you get enemies that are obviously taking a lot more, that need to take a lot more hits to destroy. One thing that I wanted to point out is that once you become a lot more experienced with this game, you'll probably notice that the time to actually beat this game will drastically decrease. First time playing it, I probably spent about 20 hours playing this game. Mostly due to confusion of not knowing where to go, not knowing Japan's geography at the time. So, it's gonna be, I don't know, I think some of the fastest times that I've seen this game beat is 2 hours or something like that. I don't think it'll be that short for me because I don't really like to do speed runs. There are some things on the side that I want to collect just to show off because of how cool they are. And right now we are being attacked by cyborg dumplings, which is very strange. And then you eat dumplings to replenish your health. One thing that I would advise when playing this game is that save as much of the currency as you can, because at one point in the game you're going to have to pay for an item that progresses the story, and it's a completely ludicrous price. And just save up your currency. I think it costs like 800 of the currency, so just try to save as much as you can. Just go ahead and dive in the water away from him. And that's another thing too, is that the hitboxes for when you take damage in this game can sometimes be a little unfair. But thankfully, there's usually health all the way. There's health around everywhere. Oh, without a silver key. Well, I guess I screwed up. I guess we have to go in here then. See, I'm getting ahead of myself. There we go. Oh, look, a giant hand. I wonder why that's there. Now, this room, for some reason, you don't have to kill all the enemies, but you can just get the key and leave. And those guys are weird. The dragons that just shoot the projectile. It's so strange. Later on in the game, going back to the health, I think as Ibisumaru, you eventually get a hammer, because that character is all about the hammers. You'll get a hammer that dramatically increases the drop rate of health to the point where it's like every other enemy, or almost every enemy, drops health. So you never really have to worry about health in this game after that particular area. And this is an example of a room that has a bottomless pit. There's no floor, you just drop and you die. Well, you lose a piece of your heart, and then you go back to the beginning of the room. So it's a little bit forgiving there. But like I said, this game is not really difficult at its core. You probably never have to buy the armor or the projectile armor. Oh. And welcome to the weird people, I guess you could say. These guys are so strange. And that's how they escape. They spin away, every single one of them. Also, I apologize if you hear my computer in the background that I'm capturing this on. It doesn't really take too kindly to running something such as capture software, so I apologize. It's probably not going to be too loud, but again, just in case. And, again, probably the easiest boss in the game, a giant head in the King Robot Congo. Very, very easy strategy. Go up and hit the red dot. And if you get super close to his mouth, he doesn't actually hurt you. And then shoots out these lasers. I'm not exactly sure what they're supposed to be. And he rotates. Again, not exactly the most enthralling piece of boss design. Relatively easy. I don't really know why they decided to make... I mean, it is the first boss of the game, I will give them that, but why did it have to be so easy to the point where I can't even really get hit if I know what I'm doing? Like, the only thing that I could possibly see somebody getting hit by are the lasers that are appearing out of its neck. And that's just because of really, really bad timing. Other than that, I don't understand how this boss is supposed to harm you. It breathes fire, but if you get right up next to it, it won't hurt you. Makes you wonder how much more of his head is going to explode before he actually dies. Considering at this point he's completely missing an eye. Also, this isn't really that bad of a boss battle theme. I mean, it's not the standard one. It's alright. Not as cool as some of the other ones that pop up later in the game, though. Such as the next boss battle, which I think you guys will really enjoy, but unfortunately today we don't have time to get to the second boss battle, so... And we have saved the Lord of Oedo? I don't know. The Peach Beam, ladies and gentlemen. Instant Stage Beam. Which is needed to proceed outside of this particular town. So, and with that, saving in the adventure diary, I can't wait to show you guys part 2 of this. You guys are really going to enjoy it. You're going to love the second boss battle. Especially if any of you don't really believe me about how absurd this game is, the next boss battle will be the final nail in the coffin of absurdity. And with that, I bid you farewell until part 2. Phantasm Mask here, signing out and being bad at Japanese.